Hello there. The surge to the right in the EU election results has panicked President Macron of France into a snap parliamentary election. All bets are now off. Well, I did say yesterday to stand by for a shock, didn't I? The EU parliamentary elections have really scared the Brussels horses, because what the Eurocrats see as the far right looks set to make great gains across the bloc. It is predicted now that 25%, a quarter, of all MEPs will be Eurosceptic at best or even downright anti-EU. With 705 MEPs, that means something like 176 full-on Eurosceptic MEPs. And look at what the UKIP and Brexit Party MEPs did with only a relative handful of them. This could derail a lot of the Eurocrat open borders, net zero and woke programmes. What a turning point this could be. Starting in France, Marine Le Pen's National Rally has wiped the floor with President Macron's side. The National Rally won about 32% of French votes, more than double the 15% or so scored by Macron's allies, according to projections, with the Socialists just behind on about 14%, says The Guardian. I bet that stuck in their craw, having to publish that. And there will be a lot of reporting on the far right by these lefty rags over the next few years. Now that's a stonking result for Le Pen. No wonder Macron felt forced into declaring a snap general election. In fact, I would say that on his side, it's an emergency election to try and save the day for Macron and his team. He's taken a real drubbing in the EU elections here. His credibility is on the line. He will not want to continue and be regarded as a lame duck president, if he isn't already viewed that way. And his presidency still has 3 years to run. If a week is a long time in politics, then 3 years is almost a century in political terms. So Macron needs to recapture his legitimacy. He needs to try and distance the EU parliamentary result that rejects him from a national domestic French result that could support him. So he'll be hoping that his domestic voters will view the EU Parliament elections as a protest vote, while viewing a French parliamentary vote as a serious and separate entity. A serious vote where the electorate will return to his pro-EU message. Somewhat along the lines of the success seen by UKIP and the Brexit Party at EU elections, but not at general election time. But it's a huge gamble for Macron. From a real position of weakness. He's gone all in on this one. And the deputy chairman of the National Rally, Sébastien Chenu, is right now doing the media rounds telling everyone Marine Le Pen is preparing to be President of the Republic. And also that the party's president, the 28-year-old Jordan Bardella, will be their candidate for Prime Minister. This has really put the cat amongst the pigeons, hasn't it? Forcing Macron to go for broke. And if Macron fails, will he be forced to stand aside for a snap presidential election, with the president of the French Senate taking over temporarily as acting president until a new president can be elected? Maybe Marine Le Pen. Ooh, that'll have 'em rattled, won't it? Now Macron is telling anyone who'll listen that he's heard the people and that he will respond to their concerns. I've heard your message, your concerns, and I won't leave them unanswered, he said. I'm wondering if the people's response to his response would be a loud shout for him to just go and resign. An EU lover of open borders and wokeness saying he's now listening must grate with the French voters. Macron also talked about the need for a clear majority in serenity and harmony, and that he could not stand by and watch the right so fars progressing everywhere in the continent of Europe. But the National Rally president's view is Emmanuel Macron is a weakened president tonight. The unprecedented gap between the presidential majority and the leading opposition party tonight reflects a stinging disavowal and rejection of the president and his government. With Le Pen herself, the parliamentary leader of the National Rally, saying, "We are ready to put the country back on its feet. We are ready to defend the interests of the French people." Just what the Eurocrats and globalists do not want to hear. Brussels needs them saying they'll put the EU back on its feet and act in the interests of the Eurocrats. And it's not just France. In Belgium, the Prime Minister Alexander De Croo is tendering his resignation to King Philippe after his party, Open VLD, which was founded by one Guy Verhofstadt, was trounced in the EU elections. "For us it's a particularly difficult evening. We lost. As of tomorrow I will resign as Prime Minister," said De Croo. Although King Philippe could reject that resignation if he wanted to. And in Italy, the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni saw her hard right party take 29% of the vote, reports The Telegraph. "Thank you. Brothers of Italy has maintained its place as the top Italian party, surpassing the results of the general election of 2022, she said. Now this really does boost her personal standing in politics internationally and cements her position in Italian politics. Giorgia Meloni is in a very strong position. While in Germany, the consensus is that Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been humiliated, with his party, the Social Democrats, getting the worst electoral result for a century. Scholz saw support for his party suffer at the hands of the centre-right Christian Democrats, who achieved just over 30% of the vote, while the so-called far-right Alternative for Germany, the AfD that some German politicians tried to ban, came in second with 16% of the vote, an increase of 5% on the last EU Parliament elections. With the German Greens experiencing huge losses. They were the biggest losers in Germany, dropping by 8.6% of the vote to just 11.9%. And there are now doubts that Scholz and his coalition of three parties can last until the autumn of 2025, when the next domestic elections are due. Now these are all projections yet to be confirmed. But as Politico said, if Sunday's projections are confirmed in the final results, it will be seen as a big success for the AfD, which has been beset by scandals in recent months. Another worry for Brussels. With Brexit UK sitting down with beer and popcorn to watch the inevitable fallout.